Hello, Laoshi Lawrence McElroy here for Water Tiger School. This will broadcast or post or whatever on Monday, December 28th, 2020. We went to a pre-recorded version of our Monday sessions a few weeks ago because internet connectivity issues with live streams for both Facebook and YouTube. So we're doing pre-recorded now and scheduling the post for 10 a.m. on both social platforms. So it's weekly original content on the YouTube channel. We haven't done anything extra for quite a while. So sorry about that, but maybe eventually we'll get back into this. Hoping, hope is the thing with feathers, that as 2021 unfolds, these will actually become unnecessary. We do them for our suspended program at Sachem Public Library in Holbrook, New York, as well as for the greater community. That's why they're available free on both platforms. But anyway, so there's that. Just FYI, I'm doing this on Christmas Eve day. So, things might happen between now and Monday, and I'll be behind in current events, that sort of thing. But right now, we're able to maintain our blended in-person and remote classes in the studio program. But, infection rates are not where they need to be. So that might have to go away sooner rather than later. We'll see. We'll cross our fingers and hope that people start doing the right thing everywhere. That's all I'll say about that. So there's that. I can't think of anything else announcement newsy wise that I need to say except what we're doing today. I'm going to start with a little light aerobic warm-up because we're going to do a version of a forward fold from yoga that I like a whole lot, and that usually sends up, picks us up, people's ears pick up. There we go. I got through it. Take two. People's ears pick up when I say that something's my favorite because they're usually like, oh God, no, he's going to kill us. But no, there are different versions of this to soften it a little bit, but it's a really nice stretch. If you can do a forward fold, you can still do a version of it and not drop your chest much below your hips or below your hips at all, really. So anyway, we'll get into those variations of that. And then something we haven't done in a long time. Actually, it was like the middle of summer. That we did variations, a theme of variation, sort of diversity in Tai Chi. We did the segment of the 24 posture form from Water Tiger's 24 posture form and others. That is horse's mane, the last horse's mane, the third one, to white crane spreads its wings. Oh, by the way, I have company down here with me today. And that's the vocal you hear in the background and the little ball of fur that you see walking here. So she was upstairs and whining at the door, and I decided, it's Christmas. We'd let Sasha, aka the cute thing of evil, join us in our little, I'd say studio, but in my workout space as we shoot the video. But anyway, so again, it's really Sasha, the cute thing of evil is not officially part of her name, but she is cute and she is evil. Anyway, I think she just swore at me. We did the segment of the 24 that horse's mane through white crane spreads its wings back on July 6th and showed various ways people get through that transition from horse's mane to white crane. And then a few weeks after that, July 20th, we did the same thing with the third brush knee into playing the peipa or playing the lute or playing the guitar. So today, the meat of the presentation will be, drumroll please, Fair Lady 2, or Fair Lady Works at Shuttles 2, or Fair Lady Weaves at Shuttles 2, or Shuttles 2, whatever. So the second one into insert needle at C bottom, pick up needle at C bottom, needle at C bottom, and all the various names. So we only have a couple of variations, ours, and then what most other people do. And so we're just going to cover those two today after our little warm-up. So I'm going to step away from the camera, break down my breath mint. Yes, if there is any question, I am still addicted to my breath mint. People in the public classes have been known to make fun of me because I'll always be finishing, I'll be finishing off several mints before a program starts. Because we really don't, part of our syllabus is always include please no gum or candy in class. A couple of reasons for that. The primary one is safety, and especially in this environment. I can't see on video if somebody, takes a sharp intake of breath while they're chewing gum and doing this, and it gets caught in their throat. There's nothing I can do. If we were in the room together, I should be able to remove it from your throat and get your heart restarted, either manually or shocking you into life again. But again, can't do that here. So I don't think I've ever given that caveat in any of these workshops, so no bad me. So here's the t-shirt reveal. Remember, it's not really late even though you're watching this on December 28th or beyond. If you're joining us for the first time, I've done everything I can from since our first one on March 23rd to wear a different t-shirt. So I'm getting to the end. This is actually my wife's, but it's the Grinch. So Merry Christmas. So anyway, the warm-up is going to be, light aerobic. You can do a couple of different things a little bit differently than I am. If you want to tone down, the intensity of what it is that you're doing, I need a little timer here. Because I'm going to do a little demonstration. I'm going to start with a march. Now you can just keep marching if you want to. Maybe some variations, but then I'll probably go to a run. So you can sort of just jog or just shift the weight from foot to foot a little bit while I'm running. If I do jump rope, right, I'm probably going to jump rope like she's very vocal. Jump rope like this, and she's going up the stairs. Right? But you can I want to get the arms involved. So you're still miming the jump rope, but just sort of taking a step with the jump rope instead of actually jumping. No need to do super rope. We're not going to work that hard. So I'm going to set my timer. And we'll get going. I'm going to do 20-second intervals. I'm going to start with march. We want to make targets and bring the knees to the target. So if you don't have a great range of, not great, but a big range of motion, whatever your range of motion is great because it's what's right for you. But you want to make sure you're bringing your knees to your targets as opposed to your targets to your knees. There's the first 20. Now I'm going to go wide. Changes up the muscle groups in the legs that are sort of being a little bit ballistically stretched as well as warmed up. If you know me, I usually run 3 ways. We're just going to do it one way with the knees up in front. I may have just lied. I think I'm going to do it 2 ways. Again, you can do this. You can do this. You can do a dramatic march. Now I'm going to widen them. So again, if you can go wide, great. If you can't, stay with the knees up. And again, I can do just dress up the march a little bit. Almost time for jump rope. And go into jump rope. You can also just do this. When I was young, my early 20s, my aerobic workout was usually jumping rope. And there's our last 20, and I'm just going to sort of walk that down a little bit. You can literally, to walk it down, you don't have to walk in place. You walk back You can walk forward. You can walk back. Maybe you can walk to the side. Doesn't really matter. But I stopped doing that. I had an accident in '85. And recently, last half decade, one of the workouts that I do, it's a stretching workout, sort of yoga based. It's a jump rope warm up. I was like, one, I didn't know if I could do the jump rope because of what happened in '85. Sort of made it impossible at that time for me to jump rope, but I found that I could. But man, I don't know how I jumped rope when I was young. Stay in shape. I mean, I work out all the time. I do a lot of aerobic stuff. But jumping rope for 3 minutes, holy cow. It's just really hard. So our stretch is a basic forward fold. If you can't do a full forward fold, then, use the chair. And that's fine. If you can be lower than a chair, but still can't touch the ground, use a yoga block. And remember, yoga block, or, I didn't grab the Shakespeare. I meant to grab the Shakespeare so I could show you how to use a book. But, yoga block has high. And be careful, because, that's, a little precarious. You have medium. You have low. And then hopefully you have fingers on the floor. So this isn't a wide leg hamstring stretch, which we've done. So probably about hip width is a good width for this particular forward fold. So that's about where my feet are, about hip width. So you can see my blue lines that I've taped out for the shoulder width of what we're going to do. So I'm inside of that a little bit, more or less under my hips. We're going to start with bent knees. I'm not going to do the yoga swan dive thing, though you could. You can start in prayer hands, and then, either go up the center and do the swan dive down, or swing up and do the swan dive down. But I'm just going to walk down my legs. You can also just do a forward fold and go down. So what we're going to do is go down into the forward fold. Then we're going to do a little leg pump. So one heel is going to rise where you lengthen the other side. So I'm going to be in this forward fold. I'm going to, as I raise, this is my right heel going up, I'm really lengthening and straightening that left leg, lifting the hip, and then creating a big stretch in that leg. And I'm going to hang out there for a few breaths. I'm going to put the right heel down, pick the left heel up, and I'm going to lengthen on the right side as I bend the left knee. And that is what we're going to do in our little variation on a forward fold. So we really didn't test to see what the best shot was for this, so I'm just going to face you and let it go for that. I may change my mind as I'm doing that. If for no other reason, it's a little bit harder for the microphone to pick me up when I'm facing away from the microphone. So let's do this. We'll bend. I'm not going to do the swan dive. You might want to walk your hands down your front, or just simply fold like a hinge. Let the head stay in alignment with the spine at first, and then as you start to get to the halfway point, you can collapse the spine, let the head hang. Now, if you have a neck issue, right, then you don't want to let the head hang. You want to keep some activation in the neck. Because neck issue and letting the head just hang and the weight of the head, that can exacerbate an issue in the neck. So you just want to be careful there. And again, I'm going to start with a bend. I think I'm going to start with the left leg bend, straightening the right. So this right leg is lengthening. And I feel that in my Achilles, in the calf,
Oh man, I really feel it in the calf today. For some reason, the quad, the hamstring, the glutes, the hip flexor, a little bit of the abductor and the adductor in the thigh, and switch. Right heel comes up off the ground, left leg now, and the right leg is bent. The left leg is now lengthening. Oh. You can feel this in the lower back. And switch. Back to the right side. Here comes swivel. It's another nickname. It's a combination of sweet and evil. Swivel. Hey, Sasha. Yeah, hi. You're probably going to get a fan page. And switch. Back into the left leg, lengthening. She's helping. And switch. Left leg bending, right leg straightening. This is the last round. I'm just going to do 3 pairs. Sasha will be so disappointed. And switch. Last to the left side. Left leg lengthening. Right leg bending. Both heels down. And I should have had you sort of check where your range of motion was before you did that. Because chances are, if you were in a forward fold position, beyond, making sure that, if you're not supposed to have your head below your hips, I bet you're closer to the floor. If your hands are on the chair and you can't drop your heads below your hips, I bet your legs feel looser and they can be straighter than they were before you did the stretch. I didn't do a slow roll up, but did a little roll up there. And again, you could walk your hands up the front of your body if you need to, so I should have said that before I came up. So there you go. A little variation on a forward fold. I'm not going to try to pronounce the Sanskrit that is the hashtag at the bottom of the information on today's session. So there you go. A little warm up. To do what we're about to do, you're going to need to know, if you don't already, how Water Tiger defines our shoulder width stance. Our fore stance, our forward moving stance, our mountain climbing stance, bow stance, a lot of different names. We define our shoulder width, we define our stance, or our stance is rooted, or its foundation is being shoulder wide, and we define shoulder width. Here we go. Now I've got my language going. It's just words, folks. The drop of the shoulder should split the heel in that side in half. The drop of the shoulder should split the heel in that side in half. So shoulder width is determined by where the heels are, not where the balls of the feet are. I might have the balls of my feet on the same line my heels were, but I am not shoulder wide because my heels are closer together. So our back foot in our fore stance is around a 45. Yes, ideally a 45. I'm not going to, crack the whip and say it has to be the 45 because people have issues with their ankles. I have a lot of metal in my left ankle, not from the same accident in '85. And it was sort of Marshall adjacent. I was cleaning what I was using for my studio space and had a fall. Tai Chi is supposed to make you more coordinated. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So I can't get this foot always to the 45. It doesn't always cooperate. So, but whatever the foot is, the back foot, my right foot is out at around a 45, or actually my foot is at a 45. The front foot is forward. Forward moving stance. So it's not about length here, it's about maintaining width. So some of you might have a really short length of a step while you're still shoulder wide, and that's fine. You're a little bit higher from the ground, so you just need to make sure that you keep your center lowered in this position. When we turn the hips, we want to make sure that we're sitting down into the legs and not moving the knees sideways, not turning and pushing that left knee out that direction. Front toe should be forward or in, not out and away from the center line, but forward or in. When I turn into that front stance, knee over ankle is safest. Knee over the top of the foot is okay. As I start to reach the toes or go beyond the toes, that's no good. That will put strain on the knee, that if you don't feel things going wrong in your knee, which your knee will sing an ugly tune, and you look down and go, oh yeah, that's right, the Grinch told me that I wasn't supposed to have my knee beyond my toes. It'll reverse it. If you don't pay attention to that bad song that your knee is singing, healthy knees can be non-healthy anymore. But done properly, feet in the right position, knees in the right position, Tai Chi can actually help knees that come to Tai Chi that aren't in that good a shape. So be careful, be mindful of your knees. You also want to know that in this particular movement we're about to do, you're going to have to take that step and place that heel on that 45. So you want to face the same direction as your weighted foot. You want to reach that heel, not the ball of the foot over, but the heel over to your shoulder width, and then turn to fill that foot, making sure the toes end forward. And that's the basis, that's the foundation of our stance. Now, for our Fair Lady weaves at shuttles, we have a ball. Now in the form, we get into the first one differently than the second one, but we're going from the second, my Fair Lady, the second Fair Lady works at shuttles, to insert needle at sea bottom. That's what we call at Water Tiger School. Right? So you're holding that ball. We also did ball variations where we did Fair Lady. I didn't look up that date, so I apologize for that. So this hand, the lower hand, the hand at the lower side of the ball, is going to curve up and over to its side of the body. Note the roundness here. And the palm is not up to the ceiling, not to the wall. It's over my head. That hand is a block. A punch has been coming in this way, and I'm coming in underneath of it and brushing it up and away. This hand on the top of the ball begins as an underhand pitch. But when you get to that point where you'd snap and bring the hand forward for the underhand pitch, like in ward off, in our ward off, it switches into a straight line, a curved straight line. Boom. That's a strike. That punch coming up and over is taking that person, boom, here, opening up that rib cage, and that's where you're striking them. So that's Fair Lady. Boom. 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 Then the foundation of needle at sea bottom, or insert needle at sea bottom, is, well, the end of it. Weight will be on the right foot. Left leg is extended. Ball of the foot. No real weight here unless you need it to not fall over. Knee is slightly bent. You don't want a straight leg. Sitting down into this leg, keeping the knee the same direction. You're probably saying, hey, Lawrence, your toes are, your knee is beyond your toes here. I'm not in forward stance. This is not the front leg in forward stance. This is a different position. I am putting more weight on my heel so the knee doesn't travel too far out in front. Boom. This hand, left hand is going to be palm down. The right hand slides in over the top. By the way, this week's workshop will be very important for next week's workshop. That's all I'm going to say about that. Boom. And that is insert needle at sea bottom from a Water Tiger School standpoint. Some people do this. And some people do different hand combinations and that sort of thing. But this is it. Notice my chest. You can still see the Grinch. right? I'm not doing this. What we call this in Tai Chi is present face for kicking. We want to keep the chest and the eyes mostly up, and I'm looking down at the same angle my torso is at that point. I shake that out. I stayed down there for a long time. So to get from one to the other, again, people do this differently. I'm going to start with Water Tiger School's version, and then I'll show you what others do. This will be reminiscent to the first one of these workshops we did, and actually both of the workshops we did, because it's all sort of the same variation. Well, I think we had 3 for horses made to white crane. So one of the 3 in that one. So what we do is we move forward. We settle the weight into the right foot, facing the 45 ideally, not eyes forward, but eyes over here. We step. That heel is down. Ideally, it goes down and it's unweighted. I could pull that leg back up off the ground. Note my toes are angled in. When I turn my hips to fill the foot, my toes in forward. If you want, you can aim the toes forward, and as you turn the hips to fill the foot, it just rolls down onto the ground. If you want to be tricky because you're stepping out to the side, you can point the toes out, and as you turn forward, the toes turn in. But notice each time my toes of my front foot in forward. So I step, turn, here comes the block, the underhand pitch that switches into the whip snap, boom. And I'm not at my center line. I'm not left hand on the right side of the body and the right hand on the right side of the body. Both hands, I end a little bit beyond my center line. So there's a little twist in my torso. From here, how we get into insert needle at sea bottom at Water Tiger School, both hands start to drop down. I'm starting to twist the torso to the right. I'm bringing that right foot in. The timing between the upper body and the lower body is really important here. As my hands get to, as much as I can really twist with my feet loaded this way, that foot should be there at the same time. Boom. Right heel drops down, right foot is now set at the 45 or 45-ish. The right hand's going to raise as I chamber the left leg. And note, I've turned into the 45. As I square off my hips and my shoulders, I set down into the right leg, extend the left, so the left toes and the right hand insert needle or needles, toes, hand at sea bottom. And that's the way that we at Water Tiger School get into insert needle at sea bottom in the 24 posture form, medium frame, young style, our version. Used to be standardized 24, and that still exists, I believe, but you get a couple of young style, and they can both be medium frame, they can both be large frame, they can both be small frame, players together, instructors together, doing a demonstration, and from opening to closing, things are probably going to be different. So again, setting that foot at the 45, coming in. Ideally, you want forming the ball to form the step. So in other words, it's not hold the ball and step. You want to be moving into the ball, and the foot is there by the time the ball is there, so you can immediately begin filling the foot and going in. Again, it begins as an underhand pitch, gets to that fall point, and snaps into the whip. Turning to the right, both palms stay down to start, right foot comes in. Ideally, as the hands get to the hip, the foot is in place to take the weight. Switching, heel rises on the left foot, heel sets on the right foot. The right hand turns as it's coming down. Chambers as the leg chambers, twist forward, and boom. By the way, I say boom a lot. You can blame Brian. He was a student eons ago in the studio, and whenever he was doing end of posture moments, and really focusing on cleaning up his end of posture moments, there'd be a little boom. I'd hear it in the corner of the studio. So one more time with Water Tiger School's way. Settling in, ideally by the time the ball is formed, the foot is down, turning, there's that underhand pitch that snaps into the whip. Boom. Turning to the right. Notice that right hand just naturally within the structure of the body turns palm up. That right foot comes in. Switching and down. Hopefully just a little bit smoother than I just did. And that's the Water Tiger School way of getting from Fair Lady 2 into insert needle at sea bottom. Now, I'm still going to use sort of our ends of postures, our ways of getting, of doing the basic postures of both of these. But I'm going to show you a different way that a lot of other people, if not most other people, use to transition from Fair Lady 2 into insert needle at sea bottom. It's a little less complicated. Not much, because it's the same basic upper body movement. The lower body is just going to be doing something different. So it begins the same way, right? Forming the ball, stepping. You have that underhand pitch that becomes the whip. From, I'm still doing Water Tiger School's version of Fair Lady. But from here, settling the weight into the back foot, the right foot, still that right hand is turning within the natural structure to palm up. The left leg comes in and chambers, right arm chambers behind and turning into the full forward position and insert needle at sea bottom. So you notice ours, I end over here. Other people's, I end on the same side on which I started. Boom, boom, boom. Again, settling the weight back. Here's that right hand turning, because it's really the natural movement of the body. Bringing the leg in, chambering leg, chambering hand. Oops, sort of fell into that. Let's do that again. I'm going to go to this position. And come back. My right leg's getting a little tired. Yours probably is too. And boom. So it eliminates, the timing and the switch that it takes for us. But there you go. So one more time. The second version. Settling in. Boom. There's the step. I'm very boomy today. There's the end of posture. No stop. It should bounce back into that right foot. Left foot comes in. Right hand up over the top of the left. Left palm stays down. And there you go. Needle at sea bottom. You want to be sure, as you're doing, either movement, that the left hand and arm stay alive and move as you move. So there's undulations and movement in the left arm. It's not just coming back, hanging out, and staying stiff and in one place. If part of me moves, all of me moves. If part of me is still, all of me is still. So it's relatively easy to turn that into a walking exercise in a couple of different ways. Here's your big hint, which is what we'll be doing for our first session in 2021. So it's hard to believe, 38 sessions in 2020. And because a lot of holidays fall on Mondays, plus I do still take a vacation in August, we missed a few Mondays. So there are actually more Mondays. I think there are 3 more Mondays than 38 between March 23rd and now. So there you go. Little variation, little diversity. I don't think either necessarily makes the movement better one way versus the other. And both are easily justifiable, easily understandable, and warranted. So Water Tiger School has our way, others have theirs. What we do works for us and fits our interpretation of the principles. So I hope that all made sense. I hope it works for you. I hope it helps you out. You know, if nothing else, I mean, if you're not a Water Tiger School student, it sort of opens the door to, oh yeah, different people do stuff differently. Water Tiger School's approach to the various forms has evolved over the years because I've participated in workshops and classes and that sort of thing with other instructors and seeing how they do things, and it's evolved, you know, the form in different ways. Some might think that it's made things more complicated. Others might think that it's made things easier. But you can't. The form shouldn't sit still. It's a living, breathing thing. So there you go. And you know, as one's understanding deepens, so it does have an impact on what it is you do. People sometimes ask, you know, is there any video of you when you were starting? And my reply is usually, you know, thank the powers that be, there isn't. But there is video out there of me about 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago, about, what, 16 years ago? No, 18 years ago, that I've left alone and out there, but based on what I know now, it sort of is embarrassing. So there you go. Little end-of-year diversity in Tai Chi, Fair Lady weaves at shuttles into insert needle and see bottom. By the way, I had never said My Fair Lady before I had a student when I was teaching them the 24 kept having that slip. And all of a sudden it's fallen into my vernacular now, and I keep adding it to things that I do when I'm talking about Fair Lady weaves at shuttles. So we'll just blame Mike. And so there you go. Thanks for your time and attention. I hope this was interesting. I hope it was informative, and I hope you had some fun today. And we'll see you in 2021, and hopefully, we can quit masking, we can quit with the physical distancing, but for now, even with the various vaccines that are out there, we need to do those things, because it's a mess right now. We need to do better. So thank you all. I'm going to quit rambling. I'm going to call it a day. Have a happy new year. Be safe. Be aware. And be healthy. Ta.